What's up, it's Pete Thorn. I got 11 questions here to answer. Let's see. What was my first guitar? Hondo Strat. Used to be an import brand. I think it was made in Korea. I sanded the body down not long after I got it, only to discover to my horror that it was plywood, which you could see in the arm contours and stuff. So anyways, Hondo Strat, but I miss it dearly and I wish I still had it. Number 2 is tone in the fingers or in the gear. You know, I'd say it's 85% in the fingers and then a little bit in the gear. Certainly, you know, you can't get the same tone out of a deluxe reverb that you can out of a, Plexi 100-watt Marshall stack. But the whole thing is it starts in your hands with your vibrato and your attack in your right hand. And if that stuff ain't there, then you really got nothing. So it's mostly in the hands, but it's a little bit in the gear as well. Okay, what's next? Let's see. What's your greatest gear find? Oh, man. I'm going to go with my association with Sir. I've got a signature guitar line with Sir guitars as well as my amps. They've just been the best partner. And, you know, the fact that I figure we found each other, that's a gear find. It's not like finding something in a pawn shop or something like that. But, you know what I mean? The fact that I came across that company and sort of took a plunge once and bought a guitar. I bought my first Sir from all the way across country. I live in Los Angeles, so it came all the way from Pennsylvania. Bought it used, shipped it across the country. When I got it, I pulled it out of the case and I started playing it. I was like, ooh, this is lovely. This guitar is amazing. And I played for about 45 minutes unplugged. And I realized that I was in tune and that I hadn't tuned the guitar when it came out of the case. And it was still in tune 45 minutes after I started playing it. So that's when I know I'd found something special. And ever since then, you know, the rest is history. I've got a long-standing relationship with the company. I love their guitars and amps. So I'm glad that we found each other. Okay, number 4, what's my worst onstage moment? Oh, man. 14 years old, I learned real quick at a kind of a lunchtime concert I was playing at my junior high. My big guitar solo was coming up in a song, and I walked a little bit too far from the amplifier, and the cord pulled right out of the front of the amp right before I started my big solo. That was embarrassing, but that's how you learn. You know, you got to wrap your cords through the handle of the amp and through the strap of your guitar and all that. You learn by doing. You learn more on stage in 5 minutes than you ever could, you know, practicing in your room for 2 years. So there's a lot of truth to that, I think. Who are my favorite up-and-coming guitar players? You know, I see new folks all the time playing that are so great. Chris Buck comes to mind as being just an amazingly talented and mature guitarist. The phrasing in his hands is just like, you know, I guess it's coming from his heart. He plays like a lead singer. You know, he plays like a great lead singer when he solos. He's saying something. He's singing something. It's always melodic, and the phrasing is just beautiful. So, you know, I'm going to pick him off the top of my head as somebody that's a really, really special guitar player. What's the best piece of guitar advice that I've received? You know, it's about what you don't play as well as what you do play. So you don't have to fill every hole. You don't have to constantly be making noise. You know, sometimes it's saying something and then pausing for effect, regrouping your thoughts, saying something again, just like I'm talking right now. That's important. The notes you don't play are as important as the ones that you do. Great way to practice that, by the way, is don't always start on the downbeat of the bar, you know? So here comes your big solo in 2, 3, 4, 1. Right? I waited until after the downbeat. So da-da-da-da-da. There's a phrase, right? Little holes in it and stuff. You give people a little bit of time to regroup and catch their thoughts in between what you say. It's golden. Okay, let's see. What aspect of guitar would I like to be better at? You know what I just was sort of talking about, which is improvising. I sang a melody off the top of my head. That wasn't planned. Now being able to just transfer that through my fingers, from my mind to my heart out through my fingers, and have it come out the speakers, you know, a split second later, that's the golden thing. And I'd like to be able to get closer to that. You know, what I hear in my head, to have it come out through my fingers, that's always the goal, I think, for, you know, guitar players as soloists and improvisers. You know, just to be able to transfer your ideas through the guitar. So I'd like to get better at doing that, always trying to get to be a better improviser. Number 8, what's the one piece of gear that you can't live without? The tuner. always the most important piece of gear. Obviously my guitar, but if you got a guitar and it's way out of tune, that ain't going to be any fun for anybody to listen to. So the tuner, very important. Who's a guitarist that you consider underrated? I was talking about Daniel Lanois with somebody the other day. It was Ian from Big Wreck, and he was talking about his appreciation for Daniel and how Daniel makes sounds with his hands and his fingers that we just don't make. Like, how did you do that? And I remember seeing him play and feeling like that. It's always fun when I discover a guitar player or see a show and I can't tell what they're doing or how they're doing something. I can hear the sounds coming out, but it's a mystery to me exactly how they're accomplishing, those parts and those sounds. I love that because it makes me remember what it's like to be really little and not know what was going on when I'd go see my favorite bands, just to be amazed by what was happening. So Daniel Lanois, he struck me that way. Another one that I think is constantly underrated as one of the greats is Michael Landau. I think Michael Landau is sort of the Jeff Beck of our time. I mean, Jeff Beck was the Jeff Beck of our time, but he's sadly no longer with us. If you ever get a chance to check out Mike, he's got a lot of that magic as well as, Hendrix and his own thing going on in his playing. And talk about a guy that can transfer what is coming through his head and his heart, his mind, out through his hands and the guitar. I've never seen anybody as such an effective communicator on the guitar. So Michael Landau, come to LA and see him at the Baked Potato sometime, and it is a transcendent experience. Let's see. Number 10. What do people get wrong about you and your guitar playing? People think I never make mistakes, or they say that a lot. We always put our best foot forward on the internet, but it's not like I don't screw up 50 times before you see my, what am I trying to say? I made mistakes before I got to the take that you liked, probably. Every now and then I get a first take, and that's a cool experience. But, I play plenty of crappy notes, so just like all of you out there, we all do. We're human. We're not perfect. That's what makes it fun. And last but not least, number 11, you can only play one, Strat or Les Paul. I'm going to go with Strat. The bar has become a big part of the way I play. It kind of always was. My signature guitar is basically Strat based. It's what I started on. It's definitely home base for me. I love Les Pauls, but I grew to adapt to them and figure out what I loved about them later. I always started on a Strat, and I've kind of ended up back on one. Les Pauls is like, love playing them, but I'm almost dabbling in something else, So yeah, I'm going to go with the Strat. It's just a great, working man's guitar, working woman's guitar. Let's be inclusive. Here we go. Here's a beautiful Suhr example of an S style guitar. And these things are timeless. What I'm doing to this thing right now is what I always did, which is look at them and how beautiful they are. I can remember getting my first one and going all around it like this and just going, God, look at that thing and the angles and the... Leo got it right in 54, didn't he? So it's pretty cool. Ooh, there's a big scratch on the back of this one. That's a problem. I have to get that buffed out. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'm Pete Thorn. Take care.